Imagine a cold evening in Chicago, raindrops pattering against the window pane, streetlights flickering through the fog. Inside a small apartment, Sarah sits on the couch, a cup of cold coffee in her hands, eyes fixed on the door. She's waiting for Mike, the boyfriend she once thought was her destiny. 8 o'clock passes, then 9. Finally he walks in, his shirt wrinkled, the faint scent of beer lingering, no apology in sight. Sarah just wants to understand, so she asks gently, "Why are you so late?" And then hell erupts. Mike slams his hand on the table, his bloodshot eyes blazing. "Who do you think you are to question me? I don't owe you any explanations." Sarah is stunned. Her heart pounds. The air grows thick. Just one word. 3 letters. Why? And all peace shatters into nothing. This isn't a Hitchcock film or an episode of The Twilight Zone. This is real life. The story of Sarah, an ordinary woman trapped in the whirlwind of a narcissist, Mike. A man as dazzling as a spotlight, yet as dangerous as a razor's edge. She had no idea that a seemingly innocent question would unlock the door to chaos. A door that millions of people, just like you and me, unknowingly touch every single day. Have you ever had a moment like Sarah's, when all you wanted was an answer, a sliver of clarity in the fog of silence or deception, only to be met with a battle you never intended to start? Today I'm going to take you deep into the mind of a narcissist, where a single word like why can destroy everything you've built. But more importantly, I'm going to give you a secret weapon, not to defeat them because that is nearly impossible, but to survive them, to reclaim a sense of peace from those who seem to hold all the power. Get ready, because this story isn't just about Sarah, it's about you. It's about the invisible scars you carry, the nights you've spent wondering, what did I do wrong? When the truth is, the problem was never you. I'll guide you through this complex psychological maze, step by step, so that you don't just understand, but you hold the key to changing the game. Don't look away, because this journey is long, deep, and just might be the lifeline you've been searching for. And if you don't want to miss any of the secrets about to be revealed, hit that subscribe button right now, because together we're about to uncover the hidden truths that narcissists never want you to see. Sarah wasn't the type who liked drama. She was an office worker in Chicago, living a simple life. Go to work, come home, watch Netflix, repeat. But then Mike appeared like a whirlwind, pulling her into an emotional storm. He had a smile that melted every defense, a confident gaze that made you feel like the center of the universe. But behind that charming exterior was someone entirely different, a textbook narcissist where charm was just a mask for a fragile ego and an ever-simmering rage waiting to explode. That night wasn't the first time Sarah had faced Mike's fury. Once before she had asked, "Why didn't you call back when you said you would?" Mike responded by throwing his phone to the floor, shouting, "Do you think I'm your servant? Stop trying to control me." Sarah didn't understand. She wasn't controlling. She wasn't jealous. She just wanted to know. But to Mike, every why was an accusation, a dagger to his pride. After that, she started noticing a pattern. Everything could be peaceful. They'd watch movies together, laugh. But the moment she asked why about anything, whether it was as small as "Why did you pick this movie?" or as big as "Why don't you want to meet my friends?" Mike would instantly transform. He would growl, shift the blame, or worse, go completely silent. A cold, punishing silence that made Sarah feel as if she had committed an unforgivable sin. She told me, "I don't know what's happening, I just want to understand him, but every time I ask why, I become the villain. I started wondering if I was going crazy." That's the invisible trap of living with a narcissist. You seek connection, you seek clarity, but instead of answers, you're met with either rage or a deep, punishing silence. And the scariest part? You never even realize you've triggered it until it's too late. Have you ever been in that situation, when you ask a simple question, only to be attacked as if you just stabbed the other person in the back? It's not your fault. This is how narcissists operate. And today we're going to break down this psychological trap piece by piece, so you never feel lost in it again. Imagine walking into a dark room with nothing but a single match in your hand. You strike it, hoping for light to illuminate the space. But instead of gentle illumination, the entire room explodes, flames spreading everywhere, consuming everything you touch. That's exactly what happens when you ask why to a narcissist. Not because your question is wrong, not because you're asking for too much, but because it touches the deep, hidden cracks within their soul, cracks they never want to admit exist. First, let's talk about a key psychological concept: mentalization, the ability to reflect on one's inner world and understand both one's own motives and those of others. The psychologist Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." For the average person, asking "why did you do that?" is an invitation to self-reflect, to explore intentions or emotions. But for a narcissist, that is an impossible request. They have no mirror to look into their soul, or if they ever did, it shattered long ago. Asking Mike, "Why didn't you call back?" in his eyes wasn't a question. It was an accusation that he was flawed, that he wasn't enough, and he couldn't tolerate that. The renowned psychologist Otto Kernberg, an expert on personality disorders, wrote in Borderline Conditions and Pathological Narcissism, "The narcissist lives in a world where self-awareness is distorted by the need to protect the ego." So when Sarah asked, "Why don't you want to go to the party with me?" Mike didn't hear curiosity. He heard an attack on his perfection. Answering that question would mean admitting that he was jealous, insecure, or simply indifferent, things he could never allow himself to face. So instead, he lashed out. "I'm not your puppet," not because he had a real answer, but because deep down he didn't know and didn't want to know why. Second, let's take a closer look at their ego. A structure as grand yet fragile as a sandcastle before an incoming wave. Sigmund Freud, the father of psychoanalysis, once said, "Where the ego is, the superego will punish." For a narcissist, the ego is everything, but it is built on a foundation of deep insecurity and shame. Every action they take, from charm to cold detachment, is a defense mechanism, a carefully crafted mask to hide the truth. They never feel good enough. Asking why is like driving a dagger through that mask, exposing the shame they've spent a lifetime running from. Sarah once told me about a time she asked Mike, "Why do you always check your phone when we're talking?" He didn't answer. Instead, he slammed the table and shouted, "Are you jealous? What kind of person do you think I am?" But I could see the truth. He wasn't angry because Sarah was suspicious. He was angry because that question forced him to face the reality that he needed outside attention to feel worthy. The psychologist Heinz Kohut, a pioneer in the study of narcissism, once wrote, "The narcissist depends on external admiration because inside there is an emptiness that can never be filled. Why invites them to look into that emptiness? And they would rather destroy you than admit it exists. And finally, they are natural-born rebels, not because they are stubborn, but because that is how they protect their fragile ego. The psychologist Alfred Adler once said, "The weakest person is the one who is always trying to prove they are strong." For a narcissist, any sign of control, even the most harmless suggestion, is seen as a threat. Sarah once told Mike, "You should wear a sweater, it's cold tonight." He snapped back, "Don't tell me what to do, I'm not a child." Another time she asked, "Why didn't you check the traffic before leaving?" Mike exploded, "Do you think I'm stupid? Stop acting like you know everything." Even asking, "Why are you going to the grocery store now?" had the same effect. To a normal person, it was just a question of curiosity. But to Mike, it became, "Do you think I have to report to you?" It wasn't arrogance, it was defiance, a way to protect the sense of independence he needed to survive. Asking why is not just a request for an answer, it is a call for them to take responsibility, to examine their motives, and to admit their mistakes. And for a narcissist, that is unacceptable. That is why is not just a word, it is a trigger that ignites 3 explosive reactions: the lack of self-awareness, the fragile ego, and the deep-seated defiance. To a narcissist, it is never a conversation. It is a war, and you, without even realizing it, have just become the enemy. Now you've seen the destructive power of why, but don't lose hope, because I have a secret for you. A small yet powerful weapon that can change the game. Never ask why. Erase it from your vocabulary when dealing with a narcissist. Sounds simple, right? But it's a shield. One that can save you from countless unnecessary wounds. Instead of, "Why are you home late?" try, "What happened tonight that made you come home late?" Instead of, "Why did you say that to me?" say, "I'm curious. What made you say that?" The difference is subtle but powerful. You're not demanding them to self-reflect, something they cannot do. Instead, you're reframing your question into an open, non-threatening invitation. You're still gathering information, but without pressing their panic button. Sarah tried this after months of walking on eggshells. One evening, Mike came home from the grocery store, scowling as usual. Instead of asking, "Why did you go now?" she said, "What made you decide to go to the store at this time?" For the first time, Mike didn't explode. He mumbled, "I wanted to buy some beer." No argument, no chaos. Sarah told me, "I couldn't believe it. One small change, and it felt like I had just avoided a war." Another time, instead of asking, "Why don't you want to meet my friends?" she tried, "What makes you uncomfortable about meeting them?" Mike responded, "They're too loud." Not exactly a warm answer, but at least not a ticking time bomb. The psychologist Carl Rogers, founder of humanistic therapy, once said, "When a person feels accepted without judgment, they will open up. Asking why makes a narcissist feel judged, cornered, and pressured, but when you replace it with what happened or what made you create a safer space. It doesn't trigger their defiance. It doesn't stab at their fragile ego. You won't win against them, but you can avoid the battle. However, don't be fooled. This isn't magic. It won't turn a narcissist into a loving, self-aware person. They will still be who they are, full of arrogance, coldness, and insecurity. But it will help you maintain a little more peace, a little more breathing room in the storm. Think of it as a shield. You can't change the fire, but you can learn how not to get burned. Sarah started using this trick more often. One evening, Mike came home late from work without a word of explanation. Instead of asking, "Why didn't you let me know?" she said, "What kept you late tonight?" He replied, "Work was a mess." Not exactly an apology, but at least there was no yelling, no blame. She realized she didn't need the whole truth. She just needed to stay out of the danger zone. And for the first time, she didn't feel like a complete victim anymore. But here's the big question. Are you willing to try? Imagine standing in front of the narcissist in your life, whether it's a partner, a friend, or a co-worker, and instead of asking why, you choose a different approach. You might lose the chance to truly understand them, but you win back your peace. That is the price of survival. But this is the hardest part, the part no one wants to hear, the part Sarah had to face after months of using this trick. When you stop asking why, you also let go of the hope of ever understanding them. Sarah told me about one long night sitting in her dark apartment, city lights flickering outside the window, hugging her knees as she whispered to herself, "Why did Mike cheat? Why is he so cold? Why did he change from the man who once held me every night into this stranger?" And then she realized she would never know, not because she wasn't smart enough, not because she wasn't patient enough, but because Mike couldn't answer. He didn't know, or he didn't dare to know. I once spoke with Jake, Sarah's best friend, a therapist who had worked with dozens of narcissists. He told me about one of his clients. I asked him, "Why do you feel the need to control everything?" He looked at me like he wanted to kill me, then snapped, "You don't know anything about me. I pay you to tell me things, not to ask me questions." And that's when Jake understood. They can't answer why. Their inner world is a wasteland. No map, no pathways, nothing to navigate. The psychologist Melanie Klein once wrote, "A narcissist's denial is not just a defense. It is the only way they know how to survive." When you ask why, you are asking them to step into that wasteland, and they would rather destroy you than face it. For Sarah, this was a double-edged sword. The stop asking why trick helped her avoid fights. It allowed her to keep some peace in her tiny apartment, but it also left her in the dark. She would never know why Mike treated her the way he did, and maybe neither did he. Once, she tried rephrasing it. "What makes you need so much space?" Mike answered, "I don't like feeling trapped." It was the closest thing to an explanation she ever got, but it still didn't tell her why he cheated, why he was distant, why he had changed. And over time, Senna realized she was living in a relationship where the truth would always be a locked door. The psychologist Erich Fromm once said, "Modern man is more afraid of freedom than of slavery." For Sarah, letting go of why was a form of freedom, freedom from endless, pointless battles. But it was also a form of slavery, slavery to silence, to accepting that she would never truly understand the man she once loved. Are you willing to pay that price? To live in a relationship where your deepest questions are buried beneath the cold ice of denial? Sarah was not alone. I've heard hundreds of similar stories from my audience. A wife asks her husband, "Why don't you love me anymore?" And he replies, "Stop being dramatic." A co-worker asks her boss, "Why do you always criticize me?" And hears, "Because you're not good enough." They don't answer. They attack, deflect, and build walls. And you, the one who asked why, are left feeling empty. Now, imagine yourself as Sarah, sitting in your apartment, city lights flickering, asking yourself, "Can I live like this forever? Can I accept a life with no answers?" It is the hardest question I have ever asked. But you must face it, because the truth is, surviving a narcissist is not just about dodging their bombs. It's about learning to live with the pain of the things you will never know. Before we close today's journey, I want to pause for a moment and tell you this. You are not alone in this battle. Thousands of people out there, just like you, just like Sarah, are trying to navigate the darkness of toxic relationships, and they are waiting to connect with you. If you don't just want to watch, but want to step into a community where we explore, heal, and grow together, then this is your invitation. Join our community today. The sign-up link is right in the video description. With just one click, you'll become part of something bigger, a place where we don't just survive, we learn how to truly live. Don't hesitate, because you deserve support, you deserve to be heard, and you deserve to walk this path with others who understand. Click that link and I'll see you there. Sarah didn't leave Mike, at least not yet, but she changed. She was no longer the prey in his game. She learned to control the fire instead of letting it burn her. She stopped asking why, not because she didn't want to know, not because she had given up hope, but because she realized the answer was never in Mike, it was in herself. For the first time in months, she felt a sense of control. Not control over him, because that was an illusion, but control over how she reacted, how she survived. This is the message I want you to take with you today. You don't need to win against the narcissist. You don't need to change them, because you can't. You don't need to understand them, because even they don't understand themselves. But you can survive them. And sometimes, the only way to do that is by learning to stay silent in front of the biggest question in your heart, not out of fear, but out of wisdom, out of strength. Try this trick for 7 days. Observe what happens when you remove why from your conversations. Take note of the changes, whether it's as small as a muttered response or as big as a day without an argument, and comment below this video to tell me, did it change your life? Did it help you find even a sliver of peace in the storm? If you want to go deeper into the labyrinth of these complex minds, hit subscribe, because we are only just beginning this journey into the darkest corners of human nature. As I write these words, I think of Sarah stepping out of her apartment after a long night, the sunlight touching her face for the first time after days of gloom. She didn't win against Mike. She didn't need to. She won against herself, against the fear, the pain, and the helplessness that had once trapped her. And that is what I hope for you. Not to defeat someone else, but to find yourself again amidst the wreckage they left behind. Because when you stop asking why, you start seeing what truly matters, not them, but you. Your strength, your worth, your life. Thank you for being here. I'll see you soon.